Hi everyone! Today we are going to continue reading Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And guess what, guys? This is going to be the last time that you hear me reading Charlie and the Chocolate Factory over the computer. The next time we read Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, it will be in person. But we are in the middle of our chapter down the Chocolate River. Let's get started and see what's happening. And with the Oompa Loompas rowing faster than ever, the boat shot into the pitch-dark tunnel, and all the passengers screamed with excitement. "How can they see where they're going?" shrieked Violet Beauregard in the darkness. "There's no knowing where they're going," cried Mr. Wonka, hooting with laughter. "There's no earthly way of knowing which direction they are going. There's no knowing where they're rowing or which way the river's flowing. Not a speck of light is showing, so the danger must be growing, for the rowers keep on rowing, and they're certainly not showing any signs that they're slowing." "He's gone off his rocker," shouted one of the fathers, aghast, and the other parents joined in the chorus of frightened shouting. "He's crazy," they shouted. "He's balmy, he's nutty, he's screwy, he's batty, he's dippy, he's dotty, he's daffy, he's goofy, he's beany, he's buggy, he's wacky, he's loony." "No, he is not," said Grandpa Joe. "Switch on the lights," shouted Mr. Wonka, and suddenly on came the lights, and the whole tunnel was brilliantly lit up, and Charlie could see that they were indeed inside a gigantic pipe, and the great upward curving walls of the pipe were pure white and spotlessly clean. The river of chocolate was flowing very fast inside the pipe, and the Oompa Loompas were all rowing like crazy, and the boat was rocketing along at a furious pace. Mr. Wonka was jumping up and down in the back of the boat and calling to the rowers to row faster and faster still. He seemed to love the sensation of whizzing through a white tunnel in a pink boat on a chocolate river, and he clapped his hands and laughed and kept glancing at his passengers to see if they were enjoying it as much as he. "Look, Grandpa," cried Charlie. "There's a door in the wall." It was a green door, and it was set into the wall of the tunnel just above the level of the river. As they flashed past it, there was just enough time to read the writing on the door. "Storeroom number 54, it said. "All the creams, dairy cream, whipped cream, violet cream, coffee cream, pineapple cream, vanilla cream, and hair cream." "Hair cream?" cried Mike TV. "You don't use hair cream." "Row on," shouted Mr. Wonka. "There's no time to answer silly questions." They streaked past a black door. "Storeroom number 71, it said on it. Whips, all shapes and sizes." "Whips!" cried Veruca Salt. "What on earth do you use whips for?" "Well, for whipping cream, of course," said Mr. Wonka. "How else can you whip cream without whips? Whipped cream just isn't whipped cream at all unless it's been whipped with whips. It's just a poached egg. Just as a poached egg isn't a poached egg unless it's been stolen from the woods in the dead of night. Row on, please." Next, they passed a yellow door on which it said, "Storeroom number 77. All the beans, cacao beans, coffee beans, jelly beans, and has-beans." "Has-beans!" cried Violet Beauregard. "Well, you're one yourself," cried Mr. Wonka. "There's no time for arguing. Press on, press on." But 5 seconds later, when a bright red door came into sight ahead, he suddenly waved his gold-topped cane in the air and shouted, "Stop the boat!" Okay, friends, that was the end of chapter 18. We are moving on to chapter 19, and chapter 19 is called The Inventing Room, Everlasting Gobstoppers, and Hair Toffee. When Mr. Wonka shouted, "Stop the boat!" the Oompa Loompas jammed their oars into the river and backed water furiously, and the boat stopped. The Oompa Loompas guided the boat alongside the red door. On the door it said, "Inventing Room, Private, Keep Out." Mr. Wonka took a key from his pocket. He leaned over the side of the boat and put the key in the keyhole. "This is the most important room in the entire factory," he said. "All my most secret new inventions are cooking and simmering in here. Old Flicklegrubble would give his front teeth to be allowed inside for just 3 minutes. So would Prodnose and Slugworth and all the other rotten chocolate makers. But now, listen to me. I want no messing about when you go in, no touching, no meddling, and no tasting. Is that agreed?" "Yes, yes, yes," the children cried. "Oh, we won't touch a thing." "Up to now," Mr. Wonka said, "nobody else, not even an Oompa Loompa, has ever been allowed inside here." He opened the door and he stepped out of the boat into the room. The 4 children and their parents all scrambled after him. "Don't touch," shouted Mr. Wonka, "and don't knock anything over." Charlie Bucket stared around the gigantic room in which he now found himself. The place was like a witch's kitchen. All about him black metal pots were boiling and bubbling on huge stoves, and kettles were hissing and pans were sizzling, and strange iron machines were clanking and sputtering, and there were pipes running all over the ceiling and walls, and the whole place was filled with smoke and steam and delicious, rich smells. Mr. Wonka himself had suddenly become even more excited than usual, and anyone could see that this was the room he loved most of all. He was hopping about among the saucepans and machines like a child among his Christmas presents, not knowing which thing to look at first. He lifted the lid from a huge pot and he took a sniff. Then he rushed over and dipped a finger into a barrel of sticky yellow stuff and had a taste. Then he skipped across to one of the machines and he turned half a dozen knobs this way and that. Then he peered anxiously through the glass door of a gigantic oven, rubbing his hands and cackling with delight at what he saw inside. Friends, here's a picture of the inside of the inventing room. Look at Mr. Wonka. Then he ran over to another machine, a small, shiny affair that kept going put, 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 put. And every time it went poop, a large green marble dropped out of it into a basket on the floor. At least it looked like a marble. "Everlasting Gobstoppers!" cried Mr. Wonka proudly. "They're completely new. I am inventing them for children who are given very little pocket money. You can put an everlasting gobstopper in your mouth and you can suck it and 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 suck it, and it will never get any smaller." "It's like gum," cried Violet Beauregard. It is not like gum," Mr. Wonka said. "Gum is for chewing, and if you tried chewing one of these gobstoppers here, you'd break your teeth off. But they taste terrific. They change color once a week, and they never get any smaller. They never disappear. Never. At least, I don't think that they do. There's one of them being tested this very moment in the testing room next door. An Oompa Loompa is sucking it. He's been sucking it for very nearly a year now without stopping, and it's still just as good as ever. Now over here, Mr. Wonka went on, skipping excitedly across the room to the opposite wall. Over here, I'm inventing a completely new line in toffees. He stopped beside the large saucepan. The saucepan was full of thick, gooey, purplish charcoal, boiling and bubbling. By standing on his toes, little Charlie could just see inside of it. That's hair toffee, cried Mr. Wonka. You eat just one tiny bit of that, and in exactly half an hour, a brand new, luscious, thick, silky, beautiful crop of hair will start growing out all over the top of your head, and a mustache, and a beard. A beard? Cried Veruca Salt. Well, who wants a beard, for heaven's sake? Well, it would suit you very well, said Mr. Wonka, but unfortunately the mixture is not quite right yet. I've got it too strong. It works too well. I tried it on an Oompa Loompa yesterday in the testing room, and immediately a huge beard started shooting out of his chin, and the beard grew so fast that soon it was trailing all over the floor in a thick, hairy carpet. It was growing faster than we could cut it. In the end, we had to use a lawnmower to keep it in check. But I'll get the mixture right soon, and when I do, there'll be no excuse anymore for little boys and little girls going about with bald heads. But Mr. Wonka, Mike TV said, little boys and girls never do go about with... Don't argue, my dear child, please, don't argue, cried Mr. Wonka. It's such a waste of precious time. Now, over here, if you will step this way, I will show you something that I am terrifically proud of. Oh, and do be careful. Don't knock anything over. Stand back. Okay, friends, that was the end of chapter 19. I'm going to tell you the title of our next chapter. Chapter 20 is called The Great Gum Machine. And you guys all say, dun, dun, dun. Well, I hope that you guys enjoyed listening to me read Charlie and the Chocolate Factory to you. I hope you've watched all of the videos and all of the chapters so you know what is going on when we come back to school February 1st, because I'm going to start reading The Great Gum Machine to you in class on February 1st. You guys have a great weekend. I will talk to you later. Bye.